back to my channel, Books with Natasha. Today I wanted to film another video for you guys, and for this one I'm going to film my favorite books so far this year. So I have quite a few books to talk about, but first of all I want to say sorry because most of these books I have already talked about, but I will try to keep it short, but please forgive me if it's not that short. The book that I want to talk about is called Wait For It by Mariana Zapata, and this one is just my favorite book by her, and I just love it so much. This book follows Diana, who has taken custody of her two nephews after her brother died, and they decide to move into this small town. They finally got a house, and they decided to move. So that's where she meets Dallas. He's her next door neighbor, and they don't get off on the right foot because some stuff happens with his brother, I want to say, and the stuff gets complicated basically. But after a while, Dallas understands that Diana is actually a really good person, really sweet, so they end up becoming friends. And he's also the coach for her elder nephew Josh. So they spend a lot of time together. He helps her out a lot, and they become like best friends. But she also starts to have feelings for him. We don't have no idea how he feels until the very end, and that's what keeps it like so amazing and so on edge. And I just love it. This book always will get 5 out of 5 stars from me. I think I've read it so far like 5 times already. I can't get enough because I love this character so much. But every time I reached the end, I was like, that's it. I really wanted like a bigger scene or something, or a little bit more of the book. I'm not sure what, but still. To have Fall With Me, this is book number 4 of Wait For You series by Jamison l.armentrout. And this is my favorite book in the series. This one follows Reese and Roxy. Reese is a police officer, and Roxy is a bartender who you met in book 3, and they have been friends for so long. And basically Reese got drunk and they almost had sex, but then he passed out, woke up and assumed that they had, and he was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it, was a mistake, and hurt Roxy's feelings. But she didn't get a chance to tell him that they actually didn't, and he passed out before they even got to do anything. So there's this misunderstanding between them. And but then Reese said, I had enough with this stuff, let's talk this out, and because I miss you, I really want to spend time with you again. So yeah, they start spending time with one another again, they start to date, and then Roxy tells him the truth. They get into a huge fight, but that's all I can tell you. But there is also a plot in this one because come on, Reese is a police officer, something needed to happen. And yeah, it's just amazing. I have read it so many times, this book. Some I haven't even recorded on Goodreads because it got super excessive, but still, it's one of my favorite books. I read it every time I need to laugh because Reese and Roxy is just perfect for one another. Their scenes are like hotness up to here. The coverability is just amazing, and it's just so good. Definitely. We have Jamison Valley series by David Perry, and for this one I chose the entirety of the series because it's just so good. And many of you have been tired of me talking about David Perry in this series, but I'm sorry, I just can't stop. But you don't need to read this series in all the books if you just want to read that one, because they are connected, but they are also not. You can definitely read it as a standalone, but some of the small details that happened in the previous book, you just have to go with as given and not wonder what happened if you want to read them as standalones. But we have so many different tropes in each and every book, so many different stories, so many different mysteries, and it's just amazing. Many people give this series 3 stars, and I just can't understand it because the series is really 5 stars. And I can tell why people don't connect with it as much, but for me it was just perfection. I loved it. It's definitely a new favorite series of mine. You guys should definitely read it. I have The Crown of Gilded Bones by Jennifer l.armentrout. This is book number 3 of the Bookswithnatasa series, and this is my favorite book in the series because Poppy and Castile finally moved past all the betrayal and secrets that happened in the previous book, and they are in a good place as a couple and in the book basically nothing like super dramatic happens, but I'm trying not to spoil, just giving my feelings on this book. But this is just amazing. Poppy and Castile are perfect for one another, and it took so much time for them to finally get together and move past and all the stuff that happened between them, because there were quite a lot and there were traumatic stuff that happened. So Poppy needed to come to terms with it and then accept the fact that she can stop falling in love with him and just accept that the stuff that happened, it wasn't exactly his fault, but it also was his fault. So yeah, it is just amazing. The final few books that do have a lot of plot twists and info dumping, but be prepared. For me, it was easy because I have read a lot of J.L.A. before, but so far her fantasy debut is just amazing, and I have to say I'm not surprised. Next we have Corrupt, book number 1 from the Devil's Night series by Penelope Douglas, and it took me so long to finally pick this book up. I was so scared to pick it up because so many trigger warnings were every time I looked on BookTube or on Goodreads or anywhere else. They were like, this book has all the trigger warnings, be careful, and I was like, what am I gonna read? But then I read it and I made the mistake of picking up like 12 a.m. because I thought it was like a 300-page book, but it turned out it was 500 pages, and I read it all in one sitting. I stayed up all night. And I have no regrets because this book was amazing. I devoured it. It was like the perfect dark romance that I needed because I was in the mood for some spicy book, but also dark romance stuff. So that's why I picked it up. I loved Michael and Rika's relationship and how it came full circle with their past and all of that. And I can't wait to continue with the series. The next book follows Kai, who is the good one in the group, but also not because something happened to him. So yeah, I love it so much, and I promise you the trigger warnings aren't so bad as everyone is making them out to be. If you have read Hooked by Emily McIntyre, then you can definitely read this one. Next we have Throttled, book number 1 of the Death series by Lauren Asher. And I read this one, I think, last month, and I was so hooked. I still love it so much. I went into it with low expectations. I was like, it's gonna be 3-star rate. I'm not seeing myself loving it. I have no experience reading for Formula 1 race car drivers books, but I think I'm gonna have to change that. I used to watch a little bit Formula, but not so much anymore. But still, this one is rival sister trope sort of thing. Also, small age gap is there, and it's just amazing. Noah and Maya are just perfect for one another. Ever since they meet, their chemistry is like explosive. They have so much. There is so much tension. Every time you see them interact, it's just they click so well together. But Noah has his own issues, and mostly because of his father. So he doesn't want to commit in a relationship, so that creates some sort of problems between them until he basically gives up and says, I can't live without you, so let's give this a try. And they're dating, and it's like the perfect thing ever. It's like they have been dating for like 10 years. That's how comfortable they are with one another, and I just love it so much. Also, the spicy scenes are just wow. And we see them doing so much stuff, and then the brother finds out. It's just hilarious. But also we see Noah and Sandy, that's the brother, create this friendship between them, and it's just so much fun to watch because at first they were like enemies and now they're like best friends. Next we have Rhodes here by Mariana Zapata, and this is my second favorite book by her, and it's a story about grief, like I said before, how to find yourself and accept that sad stuff is going to happen. Also, it's a graphic sunshine, slow burn, age gap, single parent romance, so many different tropes, so many of my favorite tropes. I loved it. This was my first Mariana Zapata book, and I have no regrets because as soon as I picked it up, I was like hooked. I read this book in one sitting, even though it's like close to 600 pages, and just so good. Just talking about it now makes me want to pick it up again because this book makes you feel so much joy when you finish it. But it's also quite sad because some stuff that happens in the book to the main character Aurora. But yeah, it's also really, it gives you like this warm feeling. It's just so much, it's so good. The last book that I want to talk about is Heart Smart by Emily Jane, and many of you have seen me talk about this book here on the channel before. And if you love The Love Hypothesis by Helen Hazelwood, definitely pick this book up. It's quite similar. We have the Grumpy Sunshine trope, have employer sort of situation, but really not. They're basically she needs to help him be more accessible to people so he can win this grant, so he can continue with his research. We also see a lot of mental health, ADHD, OCD, and all that stuff represented really good on this book, and I was quite surprised. The main character is just such a ray sunshine. The guy is like this huge muscle guy. He's super hot and he's super grumpy, but the main character totally makes him smile a bit giddy, and he's like super sweet when you get to know him. And definitely need you guys to read this book. It's just amazing. So that's it for my video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, and stick around. And I will see you for my next video very soon. Bye.